What's up, y'all? Hello, hello. I'm interested if folks saw One Night in Miami. Anybody see One Night in Miami? I know it just came out. Peace, y'all. Um, so saw this excellent film, One Night in Miami, yesterday, and it was so beautiful to see a film. What's up, Randy? It was so great to see a film that was depicting Black VegFest, not Black VegFest. That's what's always on my mind. But any social justice leader in like a major film and like more accurately depicted. And I'm saying accurate like I'm a family member, and I think only folks who can really say accurate is family members. So not accurate, but they didn't disparage this social justice leader. They didn't pigeonhole the politics, of Malcolm X. And One Night in Miami with Sam Cooke, Jim Brown, and Muhammad Ali. And so those four, and it was Malcolm X that organized that group. It was such a poignant film because what the fuck are black entertainers doing? Like, what the fuck are black entertainers doing? If you like, and I felt like every single thing that Malcolm X was, saying in this film, that he was really trying to get, he wasn't trying to galvanize folks to go into becoming, a Muslim, or into Islam or learn more about it, Islam. Um, but it was the fact that he was trying to get folks to, speak about the injustice. Like, geez, it's the mid '60s, it's the '60s, and folks were not, Jim Brown was leaving the NFL, and he was becoming this actor, in Hollywood. Sam Cooke, who was the richest out of all of them, was this singer who was only trying to get into the Copacabana to play for white folks, right? Say it as it is, like fuck people feelings and shit. Be honest, and you know what I mean? Like be honest and truthful and forward. You hear that all the time. We don't do that. We don't do that. That's why it's so important, and it's so much of an effort for folks to be unapologetically black, in that time. Fuck your job. You know what I'm saying? Your job is just one job. Let's not get that confused. That your job does not equal, you know, uh, black civility, black liberation. It doesn't equal kindness to the black community. That's just your job. That's a job. You know what I'm saying? I know people go walk around and they feel like the job identifies people. That's you do that for some income, and you could do a bunch of things. You know what I mean? There's a bunch of things that you can do, right? And then most of us, we didn't even choose the job. We didn't even choose it. Don't want to be at the job. So that's just your job. So the film One Night in Miami was Malcolm X getting these folks, these poignant, these attractive, these celebritized black folks to to basically say, can y'all use your voice, your message for something more than that's just personal to you and your family? You know what I mean? And it's what's interesting is that it started off with everybody's hardship living in white America. Like Jim Brown. Jim Brown at this particular time was the greatest thing in NFL. When he came in, I don't know if folks know any history of Jim Brown in the NFL. NFL is, what I'm saying, it's like, or was like, like the greatest, the sport. And the Super Bowl is the biggest event. So it's the biggest event, and Jim Brown was like this huge, folks. And then and it shows in the beginning, that there was this white man, and he went to the home, in the South, and he was, throwing all this beautiful praise. Now listen, throwing all this beautiful praise onto Jim Brown in the South. Jim Brown asked to go into the house. He said, we don't allow niggas inside the house. He went and let Jim Brown into the house. If you been under a rock, you didn't read any kind of history at all, and you don't know who Jim Brown is, take the time out of your schedule, especially if you live in America, right? If you live in the United States of America, and Google Jim Brown. And why this underscored such a, like powerful point. And then not Jim Brown, and then Sam Cooke, who was like the richest of the four, right? Muhammad Ali, there's Sam Cooke, there's Muhammad Ali, Malcolm X, and Jim Brown. And out of that four, Sam Cooke was, a big voice, in what he was really trying, he was trying his best. His thing was to play for the Copacabana. Now, if you know the Copacabana, you can't sit down and enjoy this show unless you're white. Period. You could be a servant there, and you could play for white folks. And that's it. And so at this particular time, Malcolm X is telling this group, and we never want to hear it. White folks definitely don't want to hear it. But I'm always especially speaking to black folks, right? On this. He was trying to galvanize these folks who and help them realize their power. That you have a particular power. Everybody always feels like powerless. Like people always talk about how powerless they are. Like you're powerless. First off, you're not powerless. You know what I'm saying? Because you can save somebody. You can even save animals, right? Let's not say you're powerless and you're cisgendered heterosexual, man. You can actually assist, women, right? Especially black women and other women of color, right? Let's not always, like, oh, I'm powerless. I don't see myself as powerless, and I think that when activists are talking and white folks hear us, they be like, oh, they complaining. I'm thinking, we don't never fucking complain about what the fuck we can't do. We will roll right through you. We don't activists. That's totally. We are telling the history and giving you a story. We're documenting information and we're bringing that to you in an unapologetically way. We're the last people to be saying, you got to tell that to other folks, maybe other black folks you might be talking to. But, we don't ever make any excuses because when we do this particular work, it's always for free. You know what I'm saying? We got to find some other type of job, right, to bring in income. We know that the job of the activism is not going to be paying. Some folks might get some 10-year jobs sometimes. Sometimes some folks get some grant money and shit. Sometimes I get some grant money. It amounts to nothing. annually, it amounts to nothing. It would still put you under the federal level of poverty. You still be under the poverty line. So folks be feeling like, well, we donate some money. Well, especially if you felt like you donated $50 or $100, you know what I'm saying? Still in poverty. Like it's not like it's a lot of y'all, you know. So I want to get that point out there. So when activists are talking and spilling this information, you are listening to the most courageous voices. So at no time did Malcolm X ever, you know what I'm saying, like, care that you felt like he was, a victim talking to other victims. He was telling you the truth. Were we not supposed to tell you like how we're feeling? Like what is actually going on, you know? And at the very same time, improving your system, right? Um, so, and if folks just joined in, I'm talking about One Night in Miami. If you saw that film, let me know. Incredible, powerful film. And I want to hear from other folks, how do they feel like Malcolm X was depicted? I think it was great. I think it was a phenomenal job. I can almost tell that it had to be a black, director and behind the film, and or producer, and if not, then it's great nonetheless, and it really showed Malcolm X. Like, you need to credit Malcolm X with so much more than we credit Malcolm X. Thank you, sister. I appreciate that. Joyce, thank you. We need to credit Malcolm X with so much more. Looking at that film, he had an impact on Jim Brown. He had an impact on Muhammad Ali, had an impact on Sam Cooke and the message that he put out there. Aside from the accolades already, we already put a store on this man. His education, his knowledge, how he impacted the Black Panthers. He is the reason why we feel like we talk shit, why we unapologetically black now. Malcolm X is that reason. I don't know if folks know that. When he first, got on air in the 50s, they wasn't having black folks come on there. Definitely not. And somebody, what I'm saying, white America messed up. Regina King. Oh my goodness. You know what? I think I knew that at one time, but I am so thankful that you said that. When that was coming out, I think when it was first coming out. But in any case, beautiful. Thank you, Randy. I appreciate that. You got to see the film. So I'm gonna really try my best to really not go so much until I feel like I'm not gonna go into the specifics of any of the conversations. But the fact that, and I feel like I'm already kind of just like giving way too much. I'll just say this for folks who are going to see this film. If you are an activist in the community, if you are black, forget it. If you are black and every single film you go to see is always us being depicted in some way that we critique, that we are like, what is this? We wouldn't do this. We don't do that. What are they talking about? We know it's all bullshit, pretty much all of damn films, right? You got a handful. I can't even think of them off the top. You could shout them out. I'm pretty sure it's going to be the same films that we have, already heard about. I'm trying to think about some, but it's very rare. It's a telling history. As telling in 2021, it is very rare for us to get a real film where black folks are not, like the truth. It wasn't like everybody was just, there was no criticism. Yeah, there's criticism. There was shortcomings of Malcolm X. There was shortcomings of Jim Brown, of Sam Cooke, Muhammad Ali. All these shortcomings, it wasn't like they were all great. We're never looking for those films. We want accuracy. We want accuracy. Like, is it an accurate depiction? Is it from a real place? The tradition, I felt so like, oh, that resonated so much. And it was like, it's stuff in this you probably never knew. if you're around my generation, if you're before me, if you're older than me, you probably knew, what I'm saying, a lot of this or very little. Um, but in any case, there was definitely some of these lessons are going to be like some of the lessons and some of the information is going to be brand spanking new, and just the impact that Malcolm X, had. And it's like, it's what we trying to do right now. It's what I've been trying to do right now. What so many folks in the movement try to do before me, and then to see Malcolm X literally do that, and we know he already done that. We knew this. We knew the impact. Like anybody who does any work in the movement, Malcolm X is the pretext, to Black Panthers. He is the pretext to the Black Power movement. He is the pretext to the Black Power movement. Even when we talk about Patrice Lumumba, hello, you know, um, when we like outside of the country, like he was really moving and he was doing these things, like of course, Marcus Garvey was doing these things, internationally. But I think that Malcolm X had a foothold, and his text, his text was just like liberation theory curriculum 101 to like 300, 400, level courses. And so I just want to say, so I don't want to go too much, I don't want to go into specifics, because Joyce definitely reminded me that I don't want to, I don't, I don't want to be a spoiler. See this film, support Regina King, and definitely, so you saw it, Randy. So I'm sorry, you've been saying some things and you saw it. That's great. And it's like, can you imagine that Black folks get like one film that is accurately depicted every something decades on average? We're talking about every several decades. I mean, how many film? I can't really think of. Is it Sarafina? Um, it was one of the films. You know, even what's the name is not even in is not really that film. Django. Django is not one of those films. It's definitely not one of those films, right? Because it focused on white characters, like, and that's another issue. I don't think that Django was a bad film. I'll be straight out. And I'm prepared to set anyone straight. I don't think that Django was a bad film, even though it did have like um, the white dude he wasn't the first lead. We know that Jamie Foxx was the lead. We know that Jamie Foxx was the lead, but the fact that you always need some white dude, assisting you from there. But it's true. You would have needed that. Hello, you would have needed that, right? And I thought it was in a great space. So I'm talking about Django now, and I thought that that was accurate, and it should be depicted that we did need white accomplices. You hell, right? We did need white accomplices. We need white accomplices now. I don't need no white person telling me, like, what I mean, I respect all races. The fuck out of here. Don't do that. You know what I'm saying? Don't do that. Because I mean, I can do that. What does that mean? You know what I'm saying? I don't know if you ever heard a Black person tell you that, but that is the stupidest shit. Don't say that. Like, we're like, what the fuck is that? What does that mean to me? You know what I'm saying? It's it's like saying to somebody who was raped, it's like, I don't rape anyone. What the fuck? You don't even know that that is stupid. You might just realize that just right now that that is stupid. And it's a bunch of lines. And surely you've said it. You know what I mean? If you've not been a like white ally, accomplice, you know what I mean? I don't want to know like what your, you know what I'm saying? Like what's your, what are you doing for me? You know what I'm saying? And so, it, it makes no sense. You know what I'm saying? It makes no sense. You don't say to trans people, well, I don't discriminate against, you know what I'm saying, trans folk. And this white folks say this shit all the fucking time. Why are you telling me how nice you are to black folks? You know what I'm saying? Like, don't tell me that you've done some shit historically, or you think of us, oh yeah, okay, all right. You know what I'm saying? No, show me through action. I can name out some, you know what I'm saying, some white folks, and only the white folks. The only reason why I would name any white folks, for you, so you can follow their lead. You in the background saying, I don't cause any trouble. I see the trouble, but I turn a blind eye. You know, you telling me right now, because what you're saying is that you turn a blind eye, when I'm suffering. That's what you're saying. You just turn a blind eye when I'm suffering. You wouldn't do that shit, in the Holocaust. As it, you know what I'm saying, in regards to the Holocaust, you wouldn't be like, well, my family ain't have nothing to do with that. Well, you know what I'm saying, I love everybody. It's nothing. You know what I mean? It's of no consolation. It's not a consolation prize. And so I'm gonna do some later ones. It ain't gonna be this month, but I'm gonna do some teach up folks on white privilege. But I'm gonna be coming unapologetically black, vegan intersectionality. Focus on unapologetically black, vegan intersectionality. Because folks on my Patreon who support me all the time, ask for it. They asked for it, and I was like, oh, great, good. White folks was like, yo, they want folks to be unapologetically black, and I be telling that to black folks, as well. You know what I mean? I know we always looking for the repercussions or the consequences, but and of course, there's gonna be a shitload of white folks who don't want that, but do you do what people want? You know what I'm saying? Or do you do what's right? So anyway, go definitely see that film. It is on shoot, what did I see? I think it's on Amazon. It's on Amazon. And kudos to Regina King. She been directing. Kudos to Regina King on a beautiful job. Well done. I will listen to anything you write, direct, or produce. That was just perfect film because you could really f that up. She could have f that film up. It would have made a lot of folks, upset because I never really. And that's how you show your activism. You know what I mean? That's a beautiful way to show your activism when you center Malcolm X in a ring of celebrities. Again, Malcolm X is there organizing this meeting with Jim Brown, who is the biggest thing in NFL at this time in the mid '60s. Right? He's the biggest thing. He's breaking records as a running back. It was just incredible. And outspoken too, and you have Muhammad Ali had just won the championship. He had just won the championship. I think it was the night before. Malcolm X had pulled now. I don't know how many activists got pulled. We ain't got pulled, like, you know what I'm saying? So, you know what I mean? So even more impactful. And then Sam Cooke was like just rising, and and his film, the stuff that he was I'm not going to get into that because I feel like that's more of a spoiler. But Sam Cooke is like the richest, dude right at this particular time. So Malcolm X is speaking to these folks now. Today, you have folks like when you see Colin Kaepernick. How many of y'all actually listen to Colin Kaepernick's full media piece in what was it, 2015? How many of y'all really listened to that when he first explained why he sat first before kneeling. I think the sitting was more powerful than kneeling. I'm not going to get into that too much, you know what I'm saying? But I could be coaxed. So, did folks see that, or did everybody just get what the media was saying in the little bits and pieces? You need to listen to it because it's about 15 minutes only. It's only about 15 minutes, 15 to 17, something like that. Um, he says what Colin Kaepernick says. Now listen, and this is true for activism, period. He had to get this from other people. He learned this. He was educated on this. Understand? Y'all don't put him at the top. Y'all done made it seem like he was the teacher. He was not the teacher. We so far off, we going down. You know what I'm saying? This is if you're a student of activism. So Malcolm X was able to speak to Sam Cooke, Jim Brown, and Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali just won the championship, the heavyweight championship, you know? And Jim Brown was the biggest thing in NFL. And Sam Cooke, you know. And he was able to do that, right? And Malcolm X was still, he was a he was a big idea. He was a big thought. But Colin Kaepernick, y'all was so quick and y'all bestowed him like all these accolades. He was getting this, he was getting that. We just kept putting him, you know what I mean? And you see how the media just manipulated, but you don't know. But he said himself in the first interview in explaining why he sat and or kneeled, when he spoke to the media, he said that I have been doing some reading. I have been doing some listening. People have been talking to me. They've been talking to me, them educating him. They Malcolm X had educated Muhammad Ali. You know, you don't hear from the activists. Why? Why don't you hear from the activists? I'm gonna get right to it. Unapologetically black. Why don't you hear from the activists? Because the activists is always talking, especially the black folks. And if they're talking to white folks, they're only talking unapologetically black. It's because the activist doesn't have anything to sell to you. The activist doesn't have anything, it is not dancing in front of you. Malcolm X knew at that time that he could speak to Sam Cooke and Sam Cooke could get the message out. He could speak to Muhammad Ali and Muhammad Ali get the message out. People going to come to see people fighting. People going to come to see Jim Brown running the football to the end zone. He knew that. But see, today, we don't know who was teaching Colin Kaepernick. And Colin Kaepernick said that folks was teaching him. Listen, when I come into the movement, I come into the movement on shoulders. I done listen and learn from folks. I don't just come and just do research. First off, people had to put they put the battery in my back. I had to be educated, you know what I'm saying? Not just my mom who brought me into the movement, but then the movement, you know what I mean? I had so many different folks. I mean, it's beautiful. It's a great thing to have so many mentors. And if you don't have a mentor, if you never had a mentor, I mean, just everybody, anyone who's out here in the world, if you don't have a mentor, you just kind of just figuring shit out by yourself. That's a scary fucking thing. You know what I mean? And and it's worse when you think you got it all, when you think you really understand it. That's even scarier. You know what I mean? If your mind ain't been blown, you know what I'm saying, at least a few hundred times, then you know what I'm saying? You got to go check the ego at the door. You got to go check and just really review what information is coming in. But so Colin Kaepernick told y'all that he done got this information from, so he didn't say who, but he done got this information, and that's what inspired him to go ahead and kneel. That's what inspired him to first sit down and not play and demonstrate. Somebody inspired him. But y'all gave everything to Colin Kaepernick and was like, here, we're gonna, and that's all. The movement inspires you to do the work, right? And so that's why I'm telling everybody, please see One Night in Miami. See that film, One Night in Miami. And especially if you're an activist and you do this work, I mean you organize people, and you organize to Black self-determination, it's so necessary to see this film and understand it in the most profound way. So we've definitely fallen in getting out, that message. That message always gets misconstrued, and folks be like, "Oh, it's a message of hate." Yeah, because you simple as fuck. I even had Black folks who be like, you know what I mean? Oh, it's because you simple. You simple. You know what I mean? But let me tell you how important you need it. And I posted it on Facebook, this conversation. Um, so I have a person that I train who's 68. I haven't trained her in like 2 years. So she's a white Jewish woman, right? Probably stopped training her at 65, 60, she's 65, 66. She's 68 now, right? And so we were on a Zoom and she was like, "Oh, Mawali, I just came across, you know what I'm saying?" I had sent it to her, and a bunch of other folks, right? She, she support, my work. But understand the support is, most like, well, you'll understand as I explain. And so we have a Zoom, right? We on that for 2.5 hours. Honestly, if you think that's, old folks are not interesting, you crazy. You really don't know what you're talking about. So we talking, having conversation about all types of things, some all about personal life, and what's going on. I'm not gonna give folks that, you know. How we dealing with this. And so she only want to talk about the politics, right? So I'm like, all right, I'm here for it. What you talking about? You know? And then so this white Jewish woman, now I didn't tell you her background now. She for 40 plus years, she's been studying psychology and counseling folks, right? So she's a psychologist. And she don't got it. She don't have it down pat. That's why a lot of folks in our movement, we ain't gonna trust that you got it down pat. I don't trust that you got it down pat. I'm one of those Black folks. I don't tell white folks to just go off and read. No, motherfucker, you gotta listen to what I'm saying to you, and then you rock that. Don't be reading no outdated books because I'm like, here's this. Has anything changed like that? You know what I'm saying? By folks just reading the book? No. No, I'm gonna wait for, you know what I'm saying? You're gonna wait several hundred more years, a few hundred more. Like, and you got one president, you know what I'm saying? Black president and one vice vice president. Y'all be happy for crumbs. And Malcolm X says that in the he says that in the film. We be happy for crumbs. We literally be ecstatic for crumbs. And they get the worst Negroes to even get power. You know what I'm saying? So it's like in front of you, they're going to give some Negroes who are clear to sell out the power, right? So back to this conversation that I'm having with my white Jewish friend. I used to train her, in boxing. You know what I mean? I haven't trained in about 2 years. So we had this conversation, via Zoom about 2.5 hours, right? And let me tell you, so she's like, I seen you talking about white privilege, and I was just like, oh, I felt so offended, you know what I'm saying? Because we're friends and, so on and so forth. So it's because, so y'all motherfuckers begin and end with friendship. All y'all need, and this is very important. So basically, if motherfuckers is not being nice to white folks, if Black folks are not being nice to white folks, then they feel like, well, goddamn, I can't be friends with this person, or this person is not my friend. If we talking real, if we talking about, being from an unapologetically Black space, placing out in our life and what we're doing and what we're dealing with, it's like you don't get it. you just won't get it. And you might be so liberal. We'll go into that. We got to talk about that, what that is, because that's what she is. She's just this white liberal. So I tell him, like, what, anything I said that was incorrect? She said no. Understand her background is she's a psychologist for 40 plus years. She in your brain. She understand things. She's smart. She's well educated. Matter of fact, she's very literal. I was telling some things. I'm like, I'm training her. I would say something, you know what I mean? She take everything literal, which I, realized. So her and her husband, I train her husband, you know, um, and they're both very, very literal. They take everything, you know what I'm saying, extreme literals. Smart folks, you know what I'm saying, but not smart. So that's a whole nother, story. People go to school and so on and so forth. We will find out if you're smart. You know what I mean? You will not tell me you went to a particular school and I will be like, oh, we got somebody who's smart here. Nah, you know. So so she's upset that I'm talking about, white privilege. So she, the YouTube piece that I had sent out. And then she finds, of course, like, damn, you was fiery. You know what I'm saying? He kind of like, you know what I'm saying, now, you know what I mean? Like really engaging, black folks, like, talking about being self-determined, standing up for yourself, like self-defense, bringing up like self-defense, black love, all of that. So I say black love, bring up how we getting killed by police, and then I say we need self-defense. She's bothered by that. White folks get bothered by that. You get bothered by black love. We talk about black folk, black love, self-defense for ourselves. That's problematic. That's problematic. But I asked her, am I wrong? Is anything wrong in here? Anything you felt? She was like, no. Okay. So why did you feel bothered? I asked her. So she says, I just, very inarticulate at this point, right? Because this is not an area of her expertise. For folks be thinking they know shit, right? Or somebody smart enough. So now, once again, college educated, a doctor in psychology. I didn't tell you that. A doctor in psychology with 40 plus years in psychology. Okay. And she agrees that yes, she has privilege, united with having privilege. We had a whole conversation on here, right? Considers, and I asked her, do you consider yourself a friend of mine? She says yes. So I had to ask, so then what's the issue? Well, no, I just didn't know if you were friends. So she wanted to make sure that the friendship was intact because I was talking about liberation for black people. Y'all are way far from understanding black folks and any understanding of liberation, which is why it's always bullshit. It was bullshit in the 60s would be like no war and it'd be like, oh, they doing this to the Vietnamese. But in America, y'all was just like not at the same level with that shit. So if I'm bringing up race, if I'm bringing up politics and that bothers you, motherfucker, that's you. I had to make sure that I get to live the next day and my three children get to live the next day. They understand race. My daughter was already dealing with race and answering questions. My daughter just happened to be incredibly smart and aware and listens to, her parents and what she said. So she was easily able to, call out her teacher when it was bullshit to the principal and make sure she got an apology from the teacher. I done brought that up, as well, because she was talking about like black being like negative and bad and white being great. And my daughter acknowledged that and like that, like a G, and was like called her out. And even this is shoot, this is some years ago. Hey, she's in the eighth grade now. This was a few years ago. I think a couple years ago. This is the sixth grade. And then now I had to call out a teacher for acting like the folks who the Capitol insurrectionists weren't, bad people. That my daughter was like, "What?" And then my daughter, was like this, Dad, like she was talking like while she was in, class, was like, because she listened to my politics, like, yo, you would think a kid would get bored. Nah, she'd be like, "Damn, you gonna go down there?" I'm like, yeah, I'm talked out. So she be on point with it. That's why you gotta have mentors, and you gotta teach your kids. You can't assume anything, right? And she's light years ahead of this 60-year-old white Jewish woman who, with 40 years of experience, 40 plus years of experience in understanding psychology. She has a doctorate in psychology and didn't understand that I needed to be talking about liberation, you know, um, to my folks. Said that she understood and she agreed, but was this sticking place was that were we still friends? Why would it fucking why like are we still like why does it say that we're not no longer friends? Who said why did you think that we were no longer friends? It was like, oh, because like I guess I'm more fucking rational and logical than you. I guess I'm just more rational and logical than you. You got a you got a doctorate in psychology. So I was really like taken aback because like, you know what I mean? I know this woman, me and this woman engage, she's a genuine friend, you know what I mean? And it's interesting. And it was like we done went out to eat, you know, uh, had vegan food. She listens to everything I say in terms of veganism. I counsel on veganism. Of course, I train her in fitness. So she listens to that. She's open to the thought. She's open to the idea. So I give her that credit, right? She's open to that. But you know what that said to me? That says, well, if she this far fucking behind, well, god damn it, you average white folk, like I'm not trying to listen. This is my strategy is not to befriend you to get change, and I think that's what she is. It's not to befriend you. I don't give a fuck if we be friends or not. I'm only gonna be friends with folks who, if they fucking white allies. If you white allies and white accomplices, we friends. I ain't got time. I mean, like, I'm 42, ain't trying to die. You know what I mean? So if you believe in, self-determination and liberation, and so this is what I asked her, you know, do you believe in these things? Because we are friends. If we're friends, I need to know you on the same goddamn, page and know what I'm dealing with on a consistent basis and not to assume what I'm dealing with on a consistent basis, you know? And we got to start, we got, I know some of y'all be like, oh, want to invite them into the barbecue because they dance right. No, you wouldn't, you know what you are. That makes no fucking sense. It's the most, it's so hurtful when y'all do that. Invite somebody to invite to. Sure, listen, nobody even telling you not to invite white folks to the barbecue. You know what I'm saying? I didn't have white folks fucking event. It's not a mother. You do not have to proclaim that shit for all of motherfucking people out here, especially for something so insignificant, which is usually some insignificant, accolade you want to bestow on someone for some weird, goofy ass gesture. Like they danced like, or they rapped well, Like folks will be like, the Eminem is an incredible fucking MC and artist, but I've seen folks do his same take in different skin color. I done seen folks do the same. I don't know where the fuck you were, but I done seen folks do the same thing in different skin color. I don't know how much you in hip hop, you know what I'm saying? But I done seen folks do, and people always think like, oh, it blew my mind. No, he blew your mind because his mainstream appeal and him being white blew your mind. And he was allowed to go ahead and speak about different subjects and do that. And we don't recognize that. But I'm gonna recognize my homegirl, Emso. white people want to treat everything like it's fair, it's far away problem, like it's a far away problem. When y'all write on text, it always sounds different when somebody reading it, and that they have nothing to do with supporting. Exactly, right. You support the system every day, whether you know what I'm saying, you find yourself in power. Thank you. And so you find yourself like in power, or not. And that need to be put out. And I wanted to say so much more about One Night in Miami. I will not. Y'all just got to see the film, because then Malcolm speaks to that. Malcolm speaks to all. It's like Regina King knew that she was a fucking G when she did this film. She had to know when she directed this film, like, I need to be accurate and I need to do this shit fist, because you will never see in a film talk the politics, discuss the politics in a particular way that could come off, and you're going to probably be surprised, boring. It could come off boring. You know what I mean? But took the time to allow that information to come out. And also, some of the stuff is nuanced. Some of the stuff is going to be very new to people who not, if you're not a black activist, if you're not in activism, if you don't have those kind of conversations, you're not actively like organizing, people to a message. This is what activists do. They clarify the message. They explain the problem. They find when once they have the problem, right? Because we trip over the problem. Like when I talk about health, I'm talking about it from a personal standpoint and dealing with heart disease and being, too poor to even get, the kind of healthcare that I want, you know what I mean? Or being able to go to the dentist, like how I want to, like all these different things, and it becomes this, this struggle, So we find a problem. When we find a problem, we identify it and we research that motherfucker. You know what I mean? Of course, there's plenty of people. The world is full of people who see the problem and be like, go over it. Eh. And people start being like they be talking about like, oh my God, we're talking about organized activists. No, you niggas is partying way more than anything else. I don't know what's the main thing out there? Like the top people, the top 10 people who are popular, none of them are activists. so so it's like, you know what I mean? Whenever I hear somebody was like, oh man, they talking about this, or they and that is an example in the film too. Like pretty much so many, it's like all these examples, but then also like they come at Malcolm X too. They challenge Malcolm X. I'm not gonna say what they challenge him in. I don't want to spoil everything. I'm not gonna spoil it. Sam Cooke challenges him. Jim Brown really challenges him in a real intimate conversation. Muhammad Ali challenges him in a fierce way as well. The beautiful thing about this fucking film is that Malcolm X, he come back every time, because a lot of times, how many films we have that where the activist actually has the last word? You don't have that. It don't exist. It's an activist film. You know what I mean? With celebrities. You know what I'm saying? With the actors themselves are not celebrities, and I thought that's important that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to hype people up. Like, you really got to see this. I'm telling you. I'm just like, I was just so like, if this film is not like nominated, you know what I mean, for I don't even know what these are called, an Oscar, you know what I'm saying? Then I will be so surprised. People gonna be like, nah, and I feel like it just came out. Like it might have came out on the exact day, you know what I mean? Um, that we watched it, and I thoroughly enjoyed that film. I have to see it again. You can find it on Amazon. I'm pretty sure it's not Netflix. I think it is. Amazon. Very very so poignant, so important. But it's for everybody to see this film. Do not see this film because it's a black cast, and it is just, and I love that it's a black cast. Oh my god, you know what I'm saying? Like if you don't see films with yourself in them, like it's just And then of course there's other groups where they don't have films where you know what I mean that are centered, that they're centered, and not just centered, like accurate, and that should be done in so many different ways. So see the film, I'm gonna tell my friend, I'm gonna tell my friend, the white Jewish woman, psychologist. I'm gonna tell her, see this film, understand this, and know why, that the same problems that was going on in the 60s, they still prevalent. They still right now. And what interesting thing was Regina King did was she was so it was so smart, and I think it was so badass for her to, what white folks are saying today, like, oh come on, they were saying back then. They were saying before, any little thing we get, any little crumbs you get, like, come on, you got a vice president, you know what I'm saying? Black person, you know what I'm saying? And I will never not say the first president we got, he wasn't unapologetically black. This vice president we got, that's black. She's not unapologetically black. They're nowhere near it. So we can hoot and holler over the color, because activists don't start and begin. We don't start and end at like the color. Once we see the color, we okay. What they saying though? You know what I mean? It ain't enough. It's like it's not enough, and that's also addressed in the film. That's also addressed. It's a beautiful film. It'll wake you up, and I think that black folks need to see it. You know what I'm saying? My Latino folks need to see it. Asian folks, white folks, everybody need to see it. I don't care where you are, you got to see the film. Because it's about being self-determined. You could take this anywhere. You could even in India. I don't know if folks, what I'm saying, went to India, but even if you didn't actually go to India, when I went there, it's like it's the same thing here. It's like it's a lot of fucking dark skin. It's just as much as what I'm saying. They brown as me or darker. Most of the folks, I kid you not, especially in the vegan spots, and they got real vegan like places. Of course, it's the most vegetarian, spot, country, in the world, but they got some vegan, spaces, especially, you know, um, Karnataka, Karnataka, and that's a southern tip. It's towards the southern tip, of India. Real, like, a lot of vegan places where folks eat off the land, and I mean like a straight smorgasbord. I remember like so much vegan food, and most of the vegan food here I have not heard or seen in my entire life, and it gave me so much joy, and to be educated, on veganism and in that space, right? So I just want to just add that in there. But when I went there, it's the same thing. You see, they have to be they're white on the billboards everywhere. The billboards, any TV, it's all white faces. Yeah, white faces. They what I'm saying? These whitish looking Indians. You know what I'm saying? So in a place like that, when you have the caste system, right? And the caste system making they're darker, right? The caste system where the folks at the bottom, they're darker. That's real shit. That's why colorism is real here in the US amongst us. You know what I mean? They can utilize that film, what I'm saying, as well. They talk about colorism in the film. You know what I mean? Like, Regina King was not playing around when she did this film. I mean, like, sisters, y'all doing a lot right now and shit. You know what I'm saying? Sisters doing a fucking lot. They doing a lot, you know what I'm saying, for real. In every single freaking way, you know what I mean? Like doing a lot. I guess you needed to put a black woman behind, what I'm saying, this for four men, you know what I'm saying? That conversation with four men. You needed a sister to direct that. You know what I mean? Because I don't know what the fuck dudes was doing before. I can bring up some black directors, but some of them passed away, so I ain't gonna go into them. You know what I'm saying? But you gotta wait till the sisters come along to get the accuracy, what I'm saying, of Malcolm X. And it was just like, think about that. Just think about how complex that shit is. You know what I'm saying? Where sisters are not recognized even in the 60s, we get especially in the 60s, right? You're not recognized. You're doing all this work behind the scenes and shit. You're not getting the kind of respect you thought you should get. Hello, Shirley Chisholm. You know what I mean? Shirley Chisholm is a wonderful example. You know, running for president, not feeling like she getting the kind of love that she should get from black men. You know what I mean? She got some love, but not the kind of love that, what I mean, you would get when you take on that kind of move, when you push, what I'm saying, for your community. But all of this is, they're not talking about Shirley Chisholm in the film, unfortunately, for New Yorkers, for Brooklynites especially. Hello. But they're talking about these concepts in One Night in Miami. See One Night in Miami. You're gonna love it. It's you're gonna love it if you believe in self determination. Let me not say everybody you're gonna love it if you believe in self determination for Black people, because that's what it's centered on. But if you think that self determination is needed and necessary in every single nation where there are oppressed peoples, then you're gonna fucking love it. You're gonna love it. If you vegan and you feel like animals, what I'm saying, are fucking oppressed, what I'm saying, we just particularly, farmed animals, what I'm saying, or just we just eat them and just forget about them and be like, well, we gotta eat meat, or like, what we gonna do with them? We're gonna eat them. We're gonna snack on them. And you gotta see the film, and I love it that, Black folks, we challenge the system. We challenge the motherfucking system, and you could see it in there so much. There was one part in the film that I was like, that don't sound that accurate. There was only one part that I was like, nah, that's not accurate. And I feel like you got to be an activist to really know that film, and it still doesn't short the film. It still does not short the film. It's just excellent, you know. And matter of fact, I don't think it wasn't that it was inaccurate. Jim Brown asked Malcolm X something, and then Malcolm X laughs, and I think that laugh is telling. It's very telling. His laugh is almost like it's nonsense. It's almost like that's nonsense, which it was nonsense. And I won't get into what it is because then I'll be throwing out spoiler. But see that film. I appreciate y'all being on. Some interesting things real quick. Black VegFest. Um, we got some resources for folks who are doing work. If you're doing, any kind of activist work, you know what I mean. We got some real resources, some PPE that is protective, that's personal protective equipment. So in terms of battling COVID, so if you're gonna be protesting, we got some things for you. We want to send that to you. Obviously, you got to share. You got to give us a flyer, give us some information on what kind of work you're doing. We can set you up with some vegan food. We can set you up, but you got to be doing some work, on having that work, and connecting that, because we want to connect with folks who are doing the work. We doing the work, we doing the work full time, all the time, even during the snow. Like I can't get out. I don't know if y'all know, but I moved to Sullivan County. I didn't say who I was in there because I assumed y'all knew who I was. I'm a Wale, a day Wale. I'm a Wale means the son has come back home. A day Wale means the crown has returned. I received the name in 2005 by my beloved comrade who was murdered. And, the name was legalized and is written on everything. So I'm a Wale, a day Wale. I'm a Wale. That's me. I'm coming out with Brother Vegan February 23rd. February 23rd. the book drops. And I was so happy when the publishers hit me up and they told me about the work they doing behind. I'm like, okay, that's what I'm talking. Well, that's what I'm talking about. We need that. We need that kind of. I need that kind of push. I need that kind of push. I got excellent contributors on there. I know y'all know Dr. Milton Mills. He's in the film. The film. It's not a film. I'm done talking about the film. He's in the book. Okay. We got ETEF. Doctor. I mean doctor. Actually, he does have his doctorate. DJ Cavum. Um, Dot Brothers in there. Dead Press. I got M1 in one conversation and Stickman in another conversation. Black vegan men giving you that perspective. And what did I say when I was talking about this? That it's real. We almost never get an opportunity to really, tell you about our lives. And so this book, Brother Vegan, it comes, 10 years, actually 11 years, 10 years last year, you know, um, 11 years after Sister Vegan by Breeze Harper. Get that book. If you haven't already copped that book, do get it. Get that book. You definitely you should have it. I think this version is a beautiful compliment to that book. In this book, we are also, I got Bryant Terry. I'm also going to be on Bryant Terry's show, coming up. Brian, I think it's in March. Brian Terry's in it. Chef Brian Terry. Listen, we doing things. We doing things. We doing things. Got this phenomenal this brother, this young brother who's 14 now, but listen, he's been a boxing champion. He's vegan and had his family go vegan. Got his family to go vegan and winning as a vegan champion. Listen, he's in the book. He was interviewed, for the book. Who else? Kaz, an incredible person, also trans, is a trans man, and it's our opportunity to extend that olive branch to our Black trans folks, who we love, our community folks. And I don't know if y'all remember me talking about that. If y'all were on VegFest UK on that conversation on Sunday, and I was, talking about how we have to step up for folks, who are more marginalized than we are. How do you do that? It's tough for some folks, right? You always feel like, you know what I mean? This whole idea that, oh man, I don't know, but so on and so forth. We look at shit so freaking linear and so like, you gotta open your brain, yo. You gotta open your brain to some smart conversation. Get yourself some books and an organization. Get an you listen, how many of y'all are part of organizations? Who's not a part of an organization? Let me know. Set y'all up. Get a part of an organization. And in that organization, they're going to tell you that you also need to understand your individual identity, right? And explaining and understanding on your own research, doing your own research. They challenge you. Hello? So you become accountable, right? To what you're doing, and they keep you doing the work. Understand why organization, for Black people in particular, is very important. And you got a support system. You're not doing it by yourself. You're not doing it alone. It's on Prime and it's included. Yes. Yes. It's on Prime. Yes, Amazon Prime. Yeah. Please do get that. Please do watch that immediately. So very true. We gotta have these conversations. So Kaz is in there. Who else? I think I'm missing a lot of people. But some of these folks I want to say, bring them up so who's a part of this book, who's in here, and it's just gonna be it's a wonderful piece. Also, formerly of Hip Hop is Green, got my brother Doc. Doc is, is also in the book as well. Um, Stuart Mitchell, Vigilante Vegan. You see him on Instagram. You probably follow him. He's in the book as well. It's just an excellent piece, and I'm the editor of it. So I come heavy. I come heavy. I come compassionate. I come, looking to unify. Our community, looking to educate our community. Open them up to these ideas of veganism that they didn't even know. Don't be telling me about, veganism is this and veganism is that, the problems of veganism. When I can show you pictures of elders coming to me, one in my book, wanting to change their entire life. Like, what? It's more than just the veganism that you thinking. I'll come from it from an ethical standpoint, but there's also the health involved as well, that can help transform our community. So it's not one thing. What is it? All things. It's all things, and incredibly important. So it's been great talking with y'all. I appreciate y'all, for coming on, especially those who've shared any kind of words, and just anything. Thank you for coming through. I'm trying to think of is anything else that's coming up immediate. It's probably is, and I'll forget to tell you, but I'll remember to let you know next time. But Brother Vegan is pre-sale right now. That book is available everywhere. Do you know that it is? It's my first book that's being published. I had to self-publish my first book. You know what I'm saying? Because I believe the information need to get to you. An introduction to veganism and agricultural globalism is still for sale. That's my first book. This book right here. An introduction to veganism and agricultural globalism. You see how I design this? You can tell I'm not a designer. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? I had to get my wonderful folks, sisters in my life, another brother in my life to help me edit the book as well, and just and bring folks together, because there was so many people that was asking me about veganism, in the community. So I was doing these vegan parties. I said let me do the research, and uh, got a Marley research scholarship to even get the information that's in that book. It's citations, in that book, and of course, I need to do another one. I need to do a reprint, a new edition, because I made some errors in there. No problems in telling you that. Make errors every day. But I'm always going to recognize them and do better the next one. But if you got to get, but you got to get that. You got to get the first one. You got to get the original. You got to be like later on in life, 10 years later, and be like, yo, I got the original though. You got to get that one. So you can see all the errors, and you can see Sister Vegan right here. Sister Vegan. So this is the pretext that came before Brother Vegan. Do get this book. Support Breeze Harper. Support that sister. Doing great things and coming out with this book at a time when a lot of us didn't even know what the hell veganism was, right? So 11 years ago, a lot of folks, the movement really kicked up about 4 or 5 years ago, by the work that was put in. It had to be seeded first. It had to be seeded first. So I pay immense homage to this sister, because it was her and the publishers that wanted me to be the editor, and so that felt great. And she might not have been given that opportunity, but she presented that work. You know what I mean? She made that happen, herself. So and it's great. And I'm grateful that they chose me to edit it, and I think they had a great decision. They made a great decision, and I'm gonna go eat some oatmeal now. I just see my mom just come on. How you doing, Mom? You know how to function and say hi? You know, she just came on. Um, thank you very much. You know, everyone. I'm gonna give a few seconds, see if my mom knows how to type on there. She may not, but she can start from the beginning and see everything. Look at all right. That's good enough. See ya. Hi, Mom.